Actually, you'll come to find out it's actually going to be a lot of what you said, a lot of learning to shut up. So essentially today I broke this into two parts because even today, as you see, it's going to be dense. I have a few different models that I want to show you guys. Um, that kind of start with just a couple of standards that you'll already probably know. It's not going to be new news, but then we're going to get into some of the stuff that um, I especially hold near and dear to my heart. If I didn't, I probably wouldn't be much of a coach. So it's a handful of that kind of material, kind of what we learned in grad school and like integrative wellness and coaching kind of work. How to hold space, actually be interested, move a conversation forward, and like, listen like you care. So right now, who show of hands, who considers himself to be someone that's a good communicator? They can hold space and get their point across. Yeah, good. Taco, I know you're raising your hand. Cool. Yeah, okay. Epic. Cool. So what's really cool, and I would say the same, I think you guys all are. I think I could come to any of you with one of my own issues and be like, hey, can I talk to you about this? And any of you could just hear me as well as guide the conversation forward without just having to tell me, oh, this is what you need to do. Like, fuck off. That's not that's not listening. Right. So what we're gonna get into then, and we'll just jam on, is starting with. Let me get back to the page I was on here. All right. So I'm gonna like zoom through like five or six different bullet points, and we're gonna break down three of them in depth because some of them don't need a whole lot of explanation. It's stuff that some mentor at some point has taught you, drilled into you. But let's start with just eye contact. Eye contact, huge. One little tip, actually from my dad a long time ago. If you struggle at all with just like eye contact, look at their eyebrows. If it's ever just like we've been linking eyes for a long time, then it's like, I'm gonna try your eyebrows out. Try that one out. That's all I'm gonna say about eye contact. We all know how to look at people in the eye, but it's important. I mean, if we're doing this, it's kind of like, hey, you here? Are you present? Uh, tonality, sing song. Justin can probably teach us a thing or two about that one. These are just a couple of things to keep in mind. And then active listening. That's what we're going to break down first. Um, and then along with active listening, we'll get into some of the things like mirroring, summaries. Appreciative inquiry is the next one that we're going to kind of break down. I'll give you a model for it. It's really impactful. And then intro to nonviolent communication. Sounds kind of out there. It's not. There's an amazing book on it. A lot of other like lessons you can get into with it, but it's essentially getting your point across in a way that is so nonviolent that it's actually loving, like a communication form that is both parties have grown because of the way that you chose to show up for your communication. Last, we'll get into, I mean, we'll just touch on a little bit of like going above and beyond with communication. If anybody like writes thank you notes afterwards, or even like to my coaches and stuff, like to people that when I'm leaving any scenario, like a lot of times I will just circle back with a text message or just jump on Instagram. Hey, thanks so much for hosting tonight. It was good to see you again. Like that kind of those little above and beyond things that I don't know. I don't know what people think about. The last two are don't over explain. Say what you mean and mean what you say. Then save your sorries. Save your sorries and then use them fully. Or as my ex says, save your sorries, you might actually need them someday. So, hand, handful of little tips in there. But any like before we dive into the three models that I want to break down, anything on there that you feel like either hell yeah, that's something that is the most important for me, or I think you missed this one, Rocky. This should be on there too. Anybody add anything from it?
I would say that paying attention and looking at somebody in the eyes, uh, especially with today's society, like a lot of people are like this all the time. Uh-huh, sure. And so I always tell people, like, when I'm in a meeting and stuff like that, hey, turn your cell phones on in your pocket. Don't put it on the desk or on the table. Even if they put them down, they seem down. I'm like, no, because attentiveness, I want people to pay attention, and I'll purposely call on somebody that is not looking, right? And like, hey, what did I just say? And they're like, you know what? I'm like, okay, see, stand up, you know? And they're like, dude, I'm not in the military. I said, stand up or you're out. And it's one of those things where it's like, if I'm doing training on something, I want to make sure that they don't miss anything because it's important. So that for me is huge.
Yeah, absolutely, man. But I love that, and you bring the military aspect of it too. I mean, I don't know, Rich, you could probably talk about that too a little bit. I mean, if you ever fucking like same scenario, would that ever fly?
Never. You be running for days. Like you're not paying attention. People, they say if you're not paying attention, you're putting someone else's life at risk. Especially on submarines and stuff, everyone's got a job. There's only so many people. So no, that's very big. You got to make sure you're not just there, but paying attention, like we just said.
Cool. All right, so let's touch on that because I think as like to both of your guys' point, and Richie, you even said it before. It's like how to talk now. How about how to listen? That is, and that's like what I put in bold when like putting together today's outline because it is like what can we do better to communicate? Well, why don't we start with listening? And as I speak to a bunch of men, especially, uh, not to say that women are better listeners, but I feel like we're kind of under ridicule a handful of the times of like, man, just don't listen. Man, we're focused on doing things. Can we be an active listener? So I'm going to show you what that looks like real quick here. Here's the cool model. I think it's cool because I'm a nerd, but hopefully you guys will too. Can you see that? So this one here. So 7 keys to active listening, and this is a big piece of. I remember my master's program. We would have to film our sessions with our coaching clients as we went through a lot of this, and it was cool because you get to find out real quick. Like Mike, you come from the training world, personal training world. There's the difference between a personal trainer and a coach, which I learned pretty quickly, was there is a hell of a lot more listening and a lot less directing. Because if like as a trainer, they're coming to you for like, here's your workout, get it done. Does it get done? Maybe, maybe not. But if we were to stop and actually be attentive, ask open-ended questions, probe, request clarifications, paraphrase, and reflect and summarize, we might actually see some bigger change. So just to break that down a little bit, I mean, the first thing Mike and Richard, you guys are both just saying, attentive, eye contact. Am I here? What's my body language like? Right? Difference between open and closed-ended questions. We all know what they are. And like before I even continue, why let's talk about why for a second. I wanted to do a whole module or two on communication. When do you like raise your hand if you see yourself doing this like with a boss or a coworker or a partner or a girl that you're dating or a boy that you're dating or with a parent or with
Only on the weekends.
only the weekends. Yeah, there you go. But so to me, it's like, and especially in this day and age, it's kind of becoming a lost art. And I hate to say it, but we can't interpret everything through text all the time, nor should we have to. That's why emojis were made. So if we can get better at just listening first, maybe we'll know what to better say, right? When you start implementing some of this in the dating world, it's a lot of fun. Um, it can be just, it can be a little bit. It can be fun. I mean, to me, I'm a guy who like I want to wear my heart on my sleeve. I want to show people that I'm like, I'm 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 compassionate. Anyways, so if you're like showing that you can listen, anybody need like any clarification on any of this? Oh, like in this order of the process of things. Being attentive,
Sir.
having an open question, ask probing questions. This is if you need like clarification. Request clarification. Can like, would you mind it if, or can I go further with this? And then paraphrasing. So what I'm hearing is this, blah blah blah. And then summarize. All right.
But isn't probing questions like guiding them a little bit though on communication?
Yeah, it's like if you want further.
But like, could you go from open-ended questions to requesting clarification?
From here to here?
Yeah, I mean, like, isn't that the same thing? Isn't asking probing questions and requesting clarification pretty much the same thing?
The way that it's proclaimed is essentially like asking permission is in the request for clarification. So essentially, like, can we agree to let's see, paraphrase would be so okay, let me say Richie, what were your main takeaways from your first day at work today?
It's gonna be long and hard and I have a lot of people to please.
Okay. Would you say that your bosses are very demanding? Is that what you mean?
I think they're gonna be very they want a job done a certain way.
I see. Okay. Okay. Is it fair to say that they have high expectations of you?
They're very high.
Okay. Okay.
So is that the three? The last one was the request clarification. The one was a probing question. And got it.
Right. And then I would go into now paraphrase of like, so it sounds to me like your first day at work was a lot of things because your bosses have high expectations of you and you got some big shoes to fill. You know, then from there it's like so now
I gotcha.
causing you, is that causing stress? So like that'd be like the coaching model, right? So once I didn't get into the summary, let's just use that for example. To summarize then, are you feeling stressed, empowered, overwhelmed? What's going on?
We'll see. I don't know if I have any emotions. I think it's too soon to put a statement yet on it of where I'm at.
Okay.
So, but
Cool.
I get what you're saying. Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah, and I wanted to like play with it because we could use the example into the next one. This is the model that we could use following this. I don't care if you guys remember the models or not. If one thing sticks out to you and you take it away from today's session, I'm stoked about it because the whole thing is about better communication. But active listening, it's great. Now that we have something, appreciative inquiry is a lot of the like. That's a lot of where I spend my time. I would say as a coach, but really kind of in life in general. Justin, you hang out with me enough to know. I'm not usually. Would you say that I'd usually kind of want to talk about what's wrong?
Definitely not.
Okay, okay. And instead, I would much rather use an appreciative inquiry approach to life. This is why this model resonated with me so much, why I wanted to share it with you guys. Is because the question that it aims to answer is this: what gives life? Strategic focus, let's use Richie's job for an example. That's our focus. what gives life? What is the best possible outcome then? What's like so starting with that? If Richie wanted to have the best experience at his job, and he comes to me talking about it this way, I'm not going to divert it and say, "Ooh, that sounds stressful, man." Yeah. Was it really fun though? Did you also love it? That's that's not that's not life bringing. But there somewhere in that we'll find something that was calling him forward. Old school like psychology. If you're like go see an old strength, they want to talk about everything that's wrong. Like, oh yes, and that makes you feel which way? Oh, really bad. And it's like it's down. It's a downward spiral, right? Difference in coaching and appreciative inquiry is what gives life. What was great about it? What did you love most about your job today, Richie?
Uh, just the support I have, and like they're gonna let me basically take it by the reins and own it. And I like owning things. So
Dope, dope,
yeah.
super cool, man. So did you say like I don't know, dream? I mean, how many times have I said that to any of you on a one on one? Like, dream with me for a second. Like, how big could it be? Where could it go? So your new job.
I mean, it could be in 6 months from now. It could be working towards the VP route. I mean, it's I can write my own paycheck in 6 months, pretty much. So
Justin, right now with your gigs picking back up, I know you've played all over the world on cruise contracts. You've been in bands. I mean, what could it? What could this year be for you?
I think it could be a lot more than I actually probably have imagined in the past, because I think that I see a little bit more of a roadmap and path to opening newer doors to kind of present new opportunities, and I'm super stoked on them.
Super down. Hell yeah, man. Cool. So with all these like wonderful options up here, let's add you to the equation. What should it be? What would you love for it to be?
I mean, I'm gonna say the direction is something that I'm gaining momentum and passion, enthusiasm, excitement, more ideas of potential, and kind of growing on the idea of building something with group of other musicians, and they can have substantially larger impact, positive impact in people's lives than I probably maybe imagined in the past. So
Epic. So at this point, I would dig a little deeper with you, just because ultimately, if we got to deploy, what will it be? That's when we start actually game planning. That's when like your soul work, kind of like next steps come into play.
for sure.
This is not your coaching session right now, and technically it is a group coaching session. So if you want to go there, I'm more than happy to. What should it be, bro? Where do you want it to go?
Should be a place where I've achieved putting in the work, the necessary work, and having the discipline to do what I know what I need to do for myself, to be able to position myself to walk through those doors and present myself in those opportunities, and know that I'm presenting myself in the best way possible at my, at my peak, essentially what I have to offer, and try and share that, capture that, and share that and with the right timing.
Epic. And what I just heard from you is kind of like a vague version of this. Did you see that? Just in the way that you started talking about the work or the steps involved before
Yeah.
we actually decided where we're going. So, what should it be is, I mean, I know you because I unless it's changed. And no,
Yeah, you're talking about more so the actual like details of some of those steps.
That's what it would be, but like in here,
Yeah.
what would it be is what do you actually want to come out of this dream scenario? All these different possibilities. You've
No,
told
more specifically,
no
like we
collaboration.
discussed in the past, is trying to team up with a more established musician artist that I can collaborate with and contribute
Boom.
to enhance,
Hell yeah.
their project. And yeah,
And I mean, and then you can continue refining it as much as you wanted to. But right now, it's like it's broad enough for you to know that you have these different avenues of work that needs to be done, and that's what gets to be talked about here. So what will it be? Well, I'm gonna be knocking on these many doors. I'm gonna be like, hanging out with these different musicians, and I'm gonna be asking for these collaborations or whatever it is for you that we would then get to in that model, right?
100%. Everything you just said, exactly.
Super cool. Okay, tell me how, Mike, you're married. Do you use this with your wife? Something?
You know, I use a little bit different, like as far as goal setting with her and stuff. But some of the stuff like, you know, what could it be? That's something I do talk about. What should it be is another one, but what gives it life? I've never went over, or what will it be?
Mhm.
But 2 out of the 4 I have used.
Cool. Super cool. Yeah, I mean, you can take whatever you want from this. Again, I mean, this is a model, but discover, dream, design, deploy is in some version or another any kind of good planning, at least in the kind of businesses that I would want to be in, is the case. I don't know. I'm not married, but I'd imagine that you can deploy some of the similar tactics with that as well in your relationship, because the whole thing is aligned and laced with this positive core. If we achieve this, we all win.
Well, I can tell you that. So, for example, one day I came home, my wife was upset because the dishes, I told her I'd wash them that night. And I ended up going to passing out on the couch. And she was with the kids all day, and I was out at work. I come home, she's pissed. And I'm like, hey, what's going on? And she's like, well, you never did what you said you were going to do. And I was like, oh, the dishes. So then I went from thinking, well, you know what? Instead of being my normal self, I was like, okay, so you're mad at me because I didn't do this. She says, yes. So I just want to identify the objective of what she was upset over. And I clarified it, and she said yes. So I was like, okay, so if I do the dishes, will you still be upset? And she's like, well, so I kind of just took it away. Like, if I do what you want or upset over, then are you still gonna be mad at me? And she's like, well, she didn't have nowhere to go with that. She's like, well, no. And I was like, okay, great, the dishes are done. You know, and and that's how I approach every situation. She's like, God, there's the laundry still. Yeah, wait, hold on. Now I'm gonna go fold it. Now I do that. Are you gonna be happy now? You know, and like I don't need you to solve problems. I said, well, I created that laundry, so I'll go ahead and take care of it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so acknowledgement is responsibility and accepting even sometimes things that you know are very simple. Any kid could do it, but yet I'll try to handle it to appease her. You know.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, and were you just reading off of the screen to just see the next conversation that we were having? Because I was literally
No, you know me? No, I have no idea. Why is there something there? Like,
yeah, I was like, yeah, this fucking.
no, my hands are up here, man. I didn't touch the mouse.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's funny though. I'm gonna show you. So what you just started to basically talk about net is nonviolent communication, accepting what was yours, and like removing the like. Let's work together on this. So I love all 3 of these tools because it's kind of in that order. Let's listen first, let's collaborate, and then let's do it in this nonviolent manner that we both win from. Okay, so this you can take from this now is kind of more of like, think of this now if you want to as how to speak, how to ask for something without making someone else feel like, in the easiest way, like I am not responsible for your emotions, so I cannot make you feel somewhere or some way. And nonviolent communication is super impactful, and it can become almost like violent in communication. It can work against itself if we take out the human aspect of it, because it really does a good job of just objectifying a conversation and recognizing that I am going to observe, use my sentences, and say what I observe, and then how I feel, and then what I need. And it just takes a lot of ownership over my part in the communication process. So I'll break it down for you just a little bit, but Mike just did a very good job of it, and it was literally almost exactly the sentence. So as we go through this, I want to show you kind of each look for each step, okay? Which I'll just go through that first, is a little easier. So what I observe, see, hear, remember, imagine, free from my evaluations, that does or does not contribute to my well-being. So when I see or when I hear, how I feel blank. It's your emotion, sensation rather than thought in relationship to what I observe. The need, what I need or value rather than a preference or a specific action. It causes my feelings because I need blank. Then finally we get to the request, the concrete action I would like taken. Would you be willing to blank? And to be on the receiving side is everything over here. So I'm gonna go through that. Look for each of those pieces as I read the sentence. When I see you sitting on the couch the whole evening, I feel angry and upset because I need to have some of my free time as well. I am doing all the work at home in the evening, but I need you to help me because I get too tired and I need to know you are with me on this. Would you be willing to share my chores in the evening so that I can rest more and we can have more time together later?
Absolutely.
So, Mike, tell us the way that you just broke down your actual story. What's up, Maddie?
Hello. Sorry I'm coming in real late and real quick. Just giving love. Love you guys. Love you, Rocky.
Love you.
Can't
See you
say-
guys.
Can you not see me?
I can't see you at all. There you are.
All right, hold on. Can you see me?
Now we can. Didn't work?
All right. Hey guys. Love you. Sorry to interrupt, but I will catch on the next one because it's the right thing that's going to help everything. Talk to you all later.
Yeah, buddy.
All right.
You see here.
See you, buddy. Bye. Love you. Just stay.
Bye. Sorry.
You can just mute yourself if you want.
Yeah.
All right. So, Mike, taking your example that you just had, what was the one tweak that I'd say is different than from what you did to this version of almost literally the same? You notice it?
The one thing that I did different,
Yeah.
I would probably have to say that in sales we call it like a takeaway close. Like you take the objective off the table away from the person who, like if they want something, you just do like, okay, great, well, I'll make it happen. How about that? And so I call it acknowledge, ignore, and move on, AIM. So, acknowledge it, I ignore it, and move on because I'm going to go ahead and do it. So don't get upset with me after I take care of the issue, right? So if they still have a problem afterwards, then it's just like, okay, there's something else bothering. What is it? Let's talk about it. I'm really good at just getting information as far as like, hey, is it this? Is it that? Like the probing questions.
Mhm.
And then a lot of times women are really super emotional. They're like, no, I'm fine. But they're not fine. So therefore you got to figure it out. And I hate play Columbo. I don't like doing that thing. So this is, I would say for me, I just try to move real quick, streamline the process. I don't know, maybe, what did you notice different?
I think it sounded to me. It sounded like you nailed it at all. You nailed it. I liked your twist because it's bringing that human aspect of it. I want to just I want the conversation to move on, or however you put it. It was instead of taking the time to like do as they put of adding this last. I guess you kind of fucking did that still too. but I mean, I think I see there's like this longevity of this one of if I want to go hang out on the couch, what would be a better way for you and I to maybe co-create a better solution for who's doing the dishes so that you don't feel hurt or not seen by me. Right? I guess it's an invitation to have that extra little bit of collaboration in there is the one part that I saw of that. But to your point, it was like, no, this is like we just want the conversation to move on. Then maybe that's the point.
Yeah, because if you hold on to that emotion too long, it'll last all night, right? So therefore, I try to expedite as soon as possible. And tone's very important, like two comedians tell the exact same joke, get a complete different outcome. And it's all about the way they phrase it. So I'm really big on like, hey, I'm not trying to fight you. I love you. Let's hug it out. And if I still get pushback, then I'll go for the leg, double under it, But I just try to use humor and like, hey man, I'm sorry, But then again, save your sorries, because if you apologize too much, then it doesn't mean anything. So it's a balance, man, and it's not easy. But the man who figures it out is gonna be very wealthy. I'll tell you that.
Cool. So if we get anything out of this part, I would say it's this. When requesting for a change or there's something like some kind of a need, recognize and if you start investing any of your energy into this style, nonviolent communication, it gets really annoying because then you, at least for me, I just want to kind of correct everyone's speech because I didn't make you feel anything. Like, you just make me feel really, really unseen. What's wrong with that sentence? You make me feel, and then unseen. That's not hers to claim anyways. That's like, it would be also mine. So there's like a double negative in that. Instead, it could be I feel hurt. Well, when I see you go straight to work and not kiss me goodbye, I feel hurt because I need affection. Would you be willing to kiss me on your way to work? Justin, can I have a kiss on your way to work, please? Did you catch that though? I mean, it sounds kind of robotic, but that's kind of how I would like for it to be, as if you want to try this on, because it really is a game changer unless you're just kind of, I don't know, trying to get your way, or like, it's not a manipulative kind of conversation. It's let's collaborate on this together because I'm responsible for my observations and my feelings. I want to clarify with you because I have needs as well. Huh. Any thoughts on that?
That's good.
Yeah, I feel you.
It's like when they say, if you love me, you kiss me before you left, but I guess you don't love me. That's manipulation.
Exactly. But it's fun when you do. For me, like when I started like digging into this a few years ago, it became very apparent to me how violent our language is. Because even when there's no intention behind a conversation or an argument or a disagreement, there's quite often just so much blame in our language because we can't. Many of us have lost touch with my feelings and how you made me feel. And I don't know. Next argument or disagreement you get into, it'll be fun to just like switch into objective mode and be like, "Oh my god, I'm not hearing anything you're saying. It's just also so violent." That would be defeating the purpose of it. But you start looking for these things, it'll be pretty apparent. So there's that for you. Takeaways on that.
Good.
Justin, you have any ways that you can start using nonviolent communication?
Yeah, I think definitely can see how I can apply a little different approaches, and yeah, try and be a little more mindful with some of how I could apply some of these practices.
Of the three that we went over with modules or visuals, which one's imprinted mostly in your mind, or one that you feel like, man, I could definitely utilize that more?
Um, I don't know if I can necessarily say that there was one that's like spoke to me or I was more drawn towards. I felt like there was something I could take away from each of the three. To be honest, that I could find helpful, but I definitely think I mean probably you talking about like from the first one that had like the eye with the eye contact and everything. Like
Yeah, so active listening.
I'm gonna say yeah with the active listening. Trying to be more mindful of the body language. I mean, I'm usually pretty naturally, I'd say, expressive with my tone, but I definitely know that my body language doesn't necessarily reflect my intention in my tone sometimes. So I'm going to try and be more mindful of that.
Cool. Super.
Yeah.
Love it, dude. Yeah, you're a great listener. But then when you throw some more skills on top of it, or some awareness, then
Definitely.
yeah, who knows?
I mean, I naturally try to be more inquisitive, and I do like asking questions and trying to be and like recap and all that naturally. But I think that trying to be mindful of it in a little different way, I think is yeah, I can see how I can improve essentially. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, when it's kind of interesting when you think of like the skill of listening.
Yeah,
Kind of it just changed. I mean, even just that thought, it can be kind of a game changer if it's like, holy shit, I do listen and actually be active in my listening process.
I think really what it is like trying to maybe quickly decide in that split second when someone has just said something and you have that choice of like, where am I going from here? Am I going to ask another question that's going to lead to like something open and branch out to something else? Am I going to, take it here, and try to in that that moment quickly flip through which is the best one to go and where do we take it from here?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. If it's like the crackhead on the corner, that's just like, hey man, for some money. I don't know if I need to be like, I mean, I could be really attentive and ask questions, open ended ones, and then move through. But if it's I mean, anything else, and it's like, yeah, let's go through the process of it. But yes, always a time and place.
For sure.
Even the crackhead probably needs love too. You can listen to him. I do. Sweet man. Richie, man, what'd you take away? What's your which one of those models is something that you know that you could apply, or you want to go over any parts of again, or anything else?
I mean, the last one. So I have a counseling background to start off with. It reminds me of a lot of the realist counseling, where it's like, hey, what's the real problem here? You can be all mad and this and that, and especially talking to females, it's like key. So like, they can be thrown out 1,000 things, but what's the key? Going back to what Michael was saying, what's the key? Like the dishes or the laundry. Is it, if that's a thing and you do it, we be mad, and then they still are mad. They're like, okay, something way above and beyond that, and then I a lot of that's like, well, you didn't listen to me. I was like, well, that's not where this went, and you just realizing that it's like, hey, no, I was relaxing. I had a hard day. I'll get it done. Don't worry. I fell asleep. So going back to them and saying, hey, this is the truth of it, and just being real. I mean, again, it's not a popular therapy way, but sometimes that's what you need to do just to break it down to people. So
Yeah, yeah. If nothing else, too, a lot of the time, I think we can get so out of touch with what we're feeling too. And so with that model, it does like, okay, here's what I see. These emotions are here. Which one of is actually mine? What can I name this emotion? And just by doing that, we've just objectified it. At least we're not in it anymore. We're
It takes the emotion out of the whole problem. Like it's not our feelings that are controlling us. It's like true actions. If it's your feelings, that's separate. But if it's an action that's causing this, and it's like we separate two things. Because if it's that emotional or that thing, then we can deal with that separate. But it's not the action. You can
Right.
like put a check in that box. So
yeah, yeah. Boom. Hell yeah. Cool, man. All right, Mike. Takeaways, brother.
Yeah, so it brought me back to this thing where I don't know if you guys ever seen that movie White Men Can't Jump, but they were talking about Jimi Hendrix, and he was like, "You can hear Jimmy, but you don't listen to Jimmy." And there's a difference between hearing somebody and listening. And I think a lot of times we kind of we're in our own little world. We tune things out unnecessarily, and we have selective hearing, right? So, you know, something that's bothering the other individual, it's upsetting them. So it's a thought that turns into a feeling that turns into an emotion outburst. And then by that time, it's too late. So we have to do damage control. And I would think, I like to be proactive instead of reactive. So if there's something that's bothering, like for example, like an ingrown toenail, right? Well, it got that way because you cut it too short or you stubbed it. But if you didn't do that, then you would never have that problem. So be mindful of how short you trim them. So it's cognizant of certain things and self-awareness. Things that irritate other people, if they bring it to your attention, I would always write those down because I don't want to offend them again without trying, you know?
Yeah.
And that's kind of, it sounds like you have to walk on eggshells around certain people. Not the case at all, but, for those super sensitive Sallies, send them down the street. Just kidding.
Yeah. I think it's safe to say that like this entire module and hopefully most everything that I do in any of my work has to be with this blanket statement that we're doing it because we care, because we want to show up and make an impact, make a difference, and leave the world a better place than we found it, and any relationship along the way the same. So to your point of like, hey, do I have to walk on eggshells? No, I actually just care about you enough I want to remember what pissed you off, so I don't do that again.
Yeah, I honestly, I'll share this with you guys just so you can see it. Here's a list. Keep it in my planner. And my wife wrote down 25 things she wants me to work on. You can't see it because of the light. But anyways, it's a list of 25. And I was like, geez, man, I only wrote down 3. I suck. So
that's cool to have that open transparency like that in a relationship. And it's like,
dude, it literally, the funny thing is when we've all been in relationships, but like it's an ongoing process. And I always tell people this, man, if you think when you buy a car brand new, you don't have to worry about it, right? For the first 36,000 miles, depending on what kind of vehicle you get, Toyota, whatever. Let's just say, it's a Toyota and, maintenance care package, you take it to the dealership, they fix it for you. But you still got to take it, you still have to actively work on maintaining it because if you don't, it'll fall apart. And it's the same thing with a relationship. And a lot of people think, oh, it's once I got it. And it's not so simple, especially when you add in children, work, other stresses. It's like a big old pot of jambalaya. I don't taste good all the time.
Love me some jambalaya.
Me too. I don't know.
Absolutely, man. And that's why like I said, that's why this module exists. It's like let's learn how to talk to each other in a conducive way, and hopefully you take a few things away from it. Yeah, I love the example though. Taco, you there, brother? Good to get you guys out of here. 7, 6.
Sorry.
I know you're multitasking. I'm glad you're here, man. Any takeaways from that?
Yeah, I really liked what Mike said. Honestly, like really at the end of the day, are you?
The end of the day. I bet his phone died. That guy's
It was like Batman. He was there.
Oh.
Oh,
I know. Oh, I guarantee his phone died. All right, y'all. I'll send you I'll send you a picture of each of those models too when I send over the recording of this. But yeah, thanks, y'all.